Hi, thank you for joining us for our LAX virtual tour. This is a quick tutorial on how to get the most out of this virtual tour. This video is recorded in 360 degrees, so if you're joining us from a laptop or desktop computer, this means you can click and drag the video in any direction and you will be able to see in 360 degrees throughout the entirety of the tour. And for a truly immersive experience, we highly recommend viewing the tour using a VR headset, which you can find online for as little as $6 to as much as about $60. Simply search for a VR headset and then type in the type of device that you own. During the tour, there will be a map toward the front of the vehicle that gives you an overview of where you are in real time. You will also see landmarks highlighted in white, just like the one you see now over the Flight Path Museum. There will also be relevant photos that will appear specific to what is being said as you move through the tour. During the tour, there will also be several links to other videos for a more in-depth look into that particular part of the airport. There are also links to those videos in the description below. If you would like any further information regarding the Flight Path Museum, please visit flightpathlax.com. They have just redone their website and it is just fantastic. Thank you, and we hope you enjoy the tour.
Welcome to the virtual LAX airfield tour. I'm Harold Johnson. I'm with Community Relations here at LAX. I'll be joined by two other colleagues, Gabby and Clarence.
Hello everyone, my name is Gabby.
And I'm Clarence.
Welcome to our LAX airfield tour.
Well, we're starting today from the Flight Path Museum, and this museum is the former Imperial Terminal.
LAX, as well as Van Nuys Airport, are owned and operated by the City of Los Angeles. LAX covers 3,500 acres of land and has 4 parallel runways.
And we're surrounded by residential and commercial areas. To the south, we have the city of El Segundo. To the east, we have the city of Inglewood. And to the west, we have the community of Westchester.
In 2019, LAX handled 88.1 million passengers,
making us the world's 4th busiest airport and the 2nd busiest airport in the U.S.
LAX holds the record for the world's busiest origin and destination airport, meaning more travelers begin or end their trips in Los Angeles.
We want to make note that the south side of the airport is mostly cargo operations. And as we get into the cargo area, we'll notice that there's not that much activity. And that's because cargo mainly flows at night.
LAX ranks 10th in the world in air cargo tonnage processed, with more than 2.3 million tons of air cargo.
As a major international gateway to the U.S., LAX is also the only airport to rank among the top 5 U.S. airports for both passenger and air cargo traffic.
LAX generated 620,600 jobs in Southern California, according to an economic study based on 2014 operations. This activity added $6.2 billion to local and state revenues and $8.7 billion in federal tax revenues.
The 2014 economic study also reported LAX's ongoing capital improvement program creates an additional 120,000 annual jobs with labor income of $7.6 billion and economic output of $20.3 billion.
To give you a bit of history of this area is pretty much 100 years old. It started with a group of people who gathered together after the Wright brothers' successful flight, and they actually built their own airplanes. And they formed a flying club and asked the farmer in this bean and barley field if they could use a section of the field as their airport. They would go up in the air, circle around, and then land. And it probably formed out of boredom where they would take off from LAX, fly to the other destination like Ontario or to Van Nuys, have lunch, and then return in the same day. And private pilots are still doing that today. But getting back to cargo, since it's only at night where most of the operations occur, you come back at 5, 6 in the afternoon, you'll see a lot of cargo jets landing and the cargo jets taking off and a lot of activity. But I want to pause to point out Signature Flight Support, and we just passed at Atlantic Aviation. These are non-scheduled aviation facilities, or what we call private aviation, or non-scheduled. You get all the services of a major airline, except that you do that on a smaller scale with just you and your immediate party. You call up the office and you tell them what time you're going to go. You ask what kind of food they have available. The facility will hire the pilot, flight attendant. They'll have the chef fix your food, And when you arrive, in some places you can park your car right at the foot of the jet, get out of your car and get on the aircraft. So we have two of those over here in the south side of LAX. But if you can look at these cargo facilities that we're passing now, we have a couple daytime employees doing logistics for later tonight. They're wrapping the packages in netting and getting things ready to go on the jets as they arrive later in the day. We're coming up on the Federal Express agency, the Federal Express area, and as we see, it's no jets here. That could be a function of the day of the week we're traveling or the time of day, but if you come back at 5 or 6 o'clock tonight, the jets will start landing and they will come in, unload their packages, and load up today's express packages and deliver them to their destination. Now, FedEx started as a college paper, and the topic of the paper was, how do you get packages from LA to New York overnight? And the student wrote, you take the packages to the middle of the country, the packages change aircraft, and then the aircraft will take the package to the destination. And today we see that as a multi-billion-dollar worldwide industry of next-day package air service. Back when the hobbyists were building their own airplanes and flying them around, the city of LA had already purchased the port of Los Angeles in Wilmington and San Pedro, and the city was looking for an airport at that time. They chose this area, and they hired a real estate agent who brokered a deal with the farmer to lease this set of land where we are right now for the airport.
In 1928, the Los Angeles City Council selected 640 acres of wheat, barley, and lima bean fields as the site to build a dirt landing strip known as Mines Field.
Mines Field was officially named Los Angeles Municipal Airport in 1928, and the Los Angeles Department of Airports was created later that year. As a result, the Los Angeles Municipal Airport became a focal point for Western aviation. And the first structure, Hangar 1, was built in 1929 in a mission revival style and became a symbol of the early aviation industry in Southern California. Mines Field was the site of the 1928 National Air Races that attracted 200,000 spectators with a 40,000 car parking lot and a 20,000 seat grandstand.
Hangar 1 here was actually the Curtiss Wright flying company. That was aviation pioneer Glenn Curtiss and the famous Wright brothers. They formed an aviation business, and they were the occupants of Hangar 1.
Hangar 1 was declared a National Historic Monument in 1996 by the City of Los Angeles.
Up in about 2005, 2004, the airport wanted to tear this building down, but the Historical Society called up the airport and reminded us that it's a National Historic Landmark and that we couldn't really touch the building. So on the outside, it looks like 1928 as it was originally constructed, but on the inside, it's a fully functional machine shop. Now this machine shop fixes the carts that we see parked in front, the tugs that we have seen throughout the airport tour that tow aircraft around. They change tires, they do mechanical work on these equipment, because you really look at it, you can't take this stuff down to Pep Boys to get repaired. So it gets fixed right here at LAX. The way LAX is configured, we have 2 runways on the south side and 2 runways on the north side. The runway on the south side is separated so that they can fit a taxiway on the inside area between the 2 runways. And that's a safety area where when planes land, they can transition from the runway onto the safety area and wait for the air traffic controller to direct them across the other runway toward the terminal area. This is the last cargo area on the on this part of the in this part of the airport. We did have a Air China 747 land earlier today. When we look at air cargo, you want to look at the type of cargo that's transitioned. Air cargo is used when you have volatile parts, very expensive parts, or parts that you want to get to the destination quite rapidly. So if we look at lobsters and tropical fish, we're looking at air cargo. When we look at nuts and bolts and lumber, we're looking at a ship in the harbor. When we're looking at expensive computer parts or expensive jewelry, we're looking at air travel. To the right, we have the Crenshaw LAX Metro Rail system. A passenger can take a train from Union Station and come down this route, get off at the LAX station, and get onto the LAX People Mover and come right into LAX Airport. That'll be available after 2023 when the system is fully functional. At this part, we just see dirt because in the back of the runway, the rail lines are below street level. They're elevated for most of the other run, but here they are below street level. Looking to our right, this part of the airport is still cargo, and we can tell because there's like nothing going on here. The brown building to our right is the United States Post Office LAX office. Before email and text messaging, this building was open for customer service 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and at 2, 3 in the morning there would be a line at the counter or waiting for a counter representative to do mail and packages. Today it's just a processing facility. And back in that last parking area, we did see another aircraft that's part of the government grant, Small Communities Aviation Service. We're passing cargo area for American and Southwest and United. This area is the 1950s airport. It's in redevelopment for modernization. As you can see, the construction activity going on. The old buildings need to be torn down, and the new buildings will be in engineering and public comment. More about this later as plans are completed. So far on the tour, we have seen the 1928 airport and the post-World War II airport. During World War II, LAX was a test and construction site for fighter and bomber aircraft to help the war effort. Before the war, the military took over every airport in the United States. After the war, the military gave the airports back to their host city for $1 each. Los Angeles received Van Nuys Airport for $1 and Los Angeles International Airport for another $1. Air service back then was located in the Burbank area. The airlines decided to move to Los Angeles, and they moved to this part of the airport. However, aviation engineering continued with the development of the jet engine and the jet aircraft. So Los Angeles prepared what we call the jet age airport that opened up in 1960. And we are about to enter into that part of the airport where we do have the horseshoe roadway and the terminal area that we've seen for the past 60 years.
In 1961, Vice President Lyndon Johnson was at LAX to dedicate the $70 million jet age terminals, including additional ticketing and satellite buildings, a 12-story, 172-foot tall combination airport administration building and air traffic control tower, and the world-famous steam building.
As we drive through the jet age airport, the facilities still have the flavor of the 1960s. However, they get maintenance daily to fix things like broken pipes, doors, windows, roofs. United has upgraded Terminal 6. Terminal 5 has been upgraded. Terminal 4 has been upgraded. There's always different renovations going on at LAX. In 1984, we added the Tom Bradley International Terminal just in time for the Olympics and the upper level roadway. That was the last time the airport was renovated up until the turn of the century, where plans were made to expand the Tom Bradley Terminal, and we have what's called the new Tom Bradley Terminal. We can see it to the right. It has a slanting roof that the architect's concept were the ocean waves as they were crashing onto the beach. However, we're going to change that word crashing out because we're at an airport. We're going to say the words rolling onto the beach. This terminal opened up, adding more gates. However, each time at LAX they add more gates, more airplanes come to LA. The newest addition is the Midfield Satellite Concourse, which we see off to the right. It's connected to the Tom Bradley Terminal by a set of tunnels, one for passengers and one for luggage and equipment and logistics. If you look at the shape of the roof of the Midfield Satellite Concourse, we see a more flattened, kind of rolling type of figure. So if we consider the Tom Bradley Terminal like at the beach, we'll consider the Midfield Satellite Concourse a little bit out to sea where the waves are smoother. LAX has a number of years of construction and modernization. Because of that, we've opened up a number of apprenticeship programs and hiring programs to help residents of the immediate community surrounding LAX, the impacted communities, to either work here or do other functions like a business to sell things to the airport.
We are now approaching the backside of the Tom Bradley International Terminal. The terminal was built in time to host the 1984 Olympics in Los Angeles. It was at this time that we welcomed thousands of athletes and officials from around the world to our city. During this period, the 963,000 square foot Bradley Terminal housed 11 aircraft gates.
At one time when this terminal was under construction, it was a hiring location for apprenticeship programs in the construction industry. Students would go to Southwest College, learn the basics of the construction trade, essentially learn how to survive a day at a construction site. Then they would come here to apprentice into a construction field, and then after 2 or 3 years they become a journeyman and move up into the construction industry. And they could have done that right here at this terminal. And as this terminal is nearing completion, there's limited amount of trades that are needed. However, the construction apprentices will be at other building sites as they open up over the next few years. Now we're approaching the 2 runways on the north side. So LAX is situated with 2 runways on the south side, 2 runways on the north side. I will say that on a clear day, you can actually see the Hollywood sign from this part of the airfield. At the time of this filming, we're still in the throes of a number of local fires that have put smoke in the air and impacted the visibility. We are passing our bus operations area. In 1960, when we built the jet age airport, Terminal 2 was the international terminal. At that time, more airplanes came to LAX than they had space for them. So they had to build a number of remote jet stands that we call the West Pads to accommodate the extra flights. If we look to the left, we see Federal Express and a Federal Express maintenance area. This area of maintenance actually does heavy engine repair, and it's one of the few locations at an airport where this type of work is done. The airport also has its own construction and maintenance crews that handle anything from runway and roadway repair to plumbing, painting, carpentry, electrical, and other types of trades.
We've now pulled up to the official parking area for Air Force One and Marine One. LAX has welcomed many U.S. presidents as well as other international dignitaries at this location. As you can see, it's far remote from all of the other gates at the airport, and that's done to make sure that we ensure the safety of not only the president but any other important person that arrives at LAX.
After 1984, when we built the Tom Bradley terminal, so we had 2 international terminals at that time, and the city officials figured we had enough jet gates, but still more aircraft arrived, and they had to build these newer jet stands that we see to the right to accommodate the increase in jet travel. After we built the new Tom Bradley terminal, we figured that we'd have enough gates, but still more aircraft arrived at LAX, and we're still using these remote terminals. Now, next year when the Midfield Satellite Concourse opens, we will see if these jet stands are still needed. We'll have to wait and see for that one. As the airport moved west, we dedicated an area for maintenance. We're coming up on that area now. Qantas was the first company to dedicate this area as their worldwide maintenance base. Delta has just recently completed construction of this hangar for its maintenance. Qantas Airlines will rotate its fleet in and out of LAX so that they can have maintenance done in this hangar here. Because of the pandemic, Qantas has grounded all of its Airbus 380 jets. During a normal day of airport operations, there would be up to 30 people on each of the Airbus 380s cleaning out the whole plane, getting it ready to go back to Australia tonight. Since the Airbus 380s are grounded, they are weathering them for future use. They have to make seals in all of the open air parts to keep animals and air out of the systems. They have to drain all the fluids except a few fluids you need to keep in there. They have to actually periodically operate some of the equipment so that the things don't rust or wear unnecessarily. So it's a lot of work even though the plane isn't flying. At one point in the history of LAX, the FAA determined that areas right off the runway were unsafe for houses, and they had a couple communities move because of being in proximity to the start or end of the LAX runway. On the west side, we had one such community. After the people were removed from that area, there was the discovery of a small little butterfly. And the butterfly is about the size of my fingernail. As we know, all animals are important, and those animals were endangered. They were threatened with extinction. And they were one of the first, or the first animal admitted to the endangered species list. That was the El Segundo blue butterfly. So the airport at that time took upon an environmental program to help restore the habitat of the blue butterflies. We hired experts to maintain that area and oversee the development of that area. And today we can say that the El Segundo blue butterfly has not only returned to LAX, but have expanded to other areas that have the same similar habitat here on the west side. This is a more rural part of the airport. We have navigation equipment, FAA equipment back in this part of the airport, as well as on the other side. In the hills to the right, the fire department has a training facility. I call it a swimming pool that they fill with gasoline. It's actually jet fuel, and they light that jet fuel. When they light that jet fuel, it becomes the biggest bonfire in Los Angeles. It's used for certifying firefighters to put out large flames. Now, obviously, we can't do this at noon on a nice sunny day because of the effect of the cloud. We can only do this on Santa Ana wind days at 2, 3, 4 in the morning while everybody's asleep. When I went to see it, it was the biggest marshmallow roaster I've ever seen. On the south side of the airport, and we're on the southwest side, we have more aviation maintenance facilities and food service. We also have some airline service companies, for example, Swissport that we're passing now. Sometimes an airline would only have 1 or 2 flights into LAX. In that case, they won't hire a full set of employees to run that facility. They will hire a maintenance company like Swissport to handle all their ground service, all of their customer service, their maintenance, their airport operations, plane handling, gasoline maintenance. They'll have Swissport do all of that work for them. Now, and it as food service is really big at airports like LAX, but we have this company here called Private Suites that we're passing now. And a lot of times people want to fly, but due to their popularity, they can't come in the front door easily. So they have this private service that will take them from the facility we just went by right to the steps of the airplane. And that way they can have a safe and effective means of transporting them and their family on commercial flights. It's a step below the private aviation that we saw at Atlantic and Signature. We're passing Gate Gourmet, another food service company. We're back at the Flight Path Museum. We want to thank you for taking this aviation virtual LAX tour, and we hope to see you soon when we're able to take you live in person again.
Thank you for joining us on our virtual LAX tour.
Before your next visit to LAX, please visit our website at www.flylax.com for traffic information, parking availability, an interactive map that includes current construction projects, and most importantly, all of the exciting updates taking place. Thank you for being on our tour.